Before we begin our journey tonight, a brief note. This episode of Sleepy Paranormal is brought to you by the SAC Center, a leading telehealth clinic specializing in the testing and treatment of autism and ADHD. The SAC Center proudly serves all 50 states, bringing expert care directly to you wherever you are. To learn more about their comprehensive services and how they can help, please visit saccenter.com. The air in Huffman, Texas, on the night of December 29, 1980, was crisp and still, carrying the faint scent of pine and damp earth. It was a typical winter evening just a few days after Christmas, a time for quiet reflection and winding down after the holiday bustle. But for Betty Cash, a seasoned truck driver, and her friend Vickie Landrum, along with Vickie's 7-year-old grandson Colby Landrum, this night was destined to become anything but typical. Their peaceful drive home through the isolated, wooded roads would soon plunge them into an encounter that would shatter their sense of normalcy and leave them with profound, life-altering consequences. Betty was behind the wheel of her Oldsmobile Cutlass, driving Vickie and Colby home after a dinner outing. The conversation was light, the familiar hum of the engine a comforting backdrop to the quiet of the night. As they ventured deeper into a less traveled, heavily wooded area near Dayton, Texas, just past the town of Huffman, the ordinary began to dissolve. Suddenly, a brilliant, blinding light pierced the darkness ahead. It wasn't the glare of an oncoming car, nor the distant beam of a searchlight. This light was singular, intense, and seemed to emanate from something impossibly large hovering just above the treetops. Betty, instinctively slowing the car, initially thought it might be a downed aircraft. Her trucker's instincts, honed by years on the road, told her something was terribly wrong. As they drew closer, the sight became even more surreal. Suspended directly over the road, no more than 100 feet in the air, was a massive, diamond-shaped object, radiating an almost unbearable heat. It was like a giant, metallic jewel hanging in the night sky, pulsating with an internal light. From its underside, a steady stream of flames, described by the witnesses as resembling blowtorches, pulsed downwards, illuminating the surrounding trees in an eerie orange glow. The heat radiating from the object was intense, so powerful that it made the car's interior feel like an oven. Vickie, devoutly religious, immediately recognized it as something otherworldly, something divine or demonic, crying out, "That's Jesus! He's coming back!" Colby, meanwhile, was terrified, his small voice filled with a child's pure fear. "Let's go, Nana, let's go," he pleaded, convinced they were witnessing something truly frightening. Despite their fear, Betty, perhaps out of a trucker's curiosity or a strange sense of duty, brought the car to a complete stop. The heat became unbearable, forcing them to turn off the engine and roll down the windows, hoping for some relief. But the air outside was even hotter, scorching and oppressive. The interior of the car quickly became stifling, the vinyl seats practically burning their skin. As they sat there, captivated and terrified, the object began to slowly descend, its fiery exhaust stirring the tops of the trees beneath it. Then, even more bizarrely, 40 to 50 small black helicopters appeared from seemingly nowhere, circling the massive diamond-shaped craft. These weren't typical civilian helicopters. Their design was military, and they moved with a precise, almost synchronized purpose. It was a chilling tableau: the alien craft, the intense heat, and the sudden appearance of a clandestine military presence in the dead of night. This spectacle lasted for what felt like an eternity, perhaps 20 to 30 minutes. During this time, Betty, despite her fear, felt compelled to exit the car. Perhaps she thought she could get a better look, or perhaps a strange curiosity overcame her good judgment. As she stepped out onto the asphalt, the heat intensified, feeling like her skin was being seared. She stood there for a few agonizing minutes, transfixed by the sight, before the heat became too much to bear, forcing her back into the relative safety of the car. Vickie and Colby remained huddled inside, their faces pressed against the windows, watching the bizarre aerial ballet unfold. Finally, with a sudden, silent ascent, the diamond-shaped object began to move upwards, its flames retracting, the intense heat gradually subsiding. The swarm of helicopters followed suit, disappearing into the night sky as quickly as they had appeared. The road was once again dark, silent, and empty, as if the entire terrifying encounter had been nothing more than a shared hallucination. But it was no hallucination. As they drove away, the lingering effects began to set in. The heat had been so intense that the dashboard of Betty's car was now hot to the touch. The very air around them felt charged, heavy with an unseen energy. Betty, who had been closest to the object, started to feel a strange, burning sensation on her skin. Vickie and Colby, though less exposed, also felt an oppressive warmth and a growing sense of unease. By the time they arrived home, the initial shock had begun to give way to something far more insidious. Within hours, all three began to experience alarming symptoms. Betty's eyes swelled shut, her skin erupted in painful blisters, and her hair began to fall out in clumps. She suffered from severe headaches, nausea, and an unbearable weakness. Vickie developed similar symptoms, though less severe, with patches of her hair falling out and persistent skin lesions. Colby, the youngest and most vulnerable, developed painful sores and began losing patches of his hair. The following days were a nightmare of escalating pain and confusion. Betty's condition rapidly deteriorated, forcing her to seek emergency medical attention. Doctors were baffled. Her symptoms resembled those of severe radiation poisoning, yet there was no logical explanation for how she could have been exposed to such high levels of radiation. Her hair continued to fall out, leaving her almost completely bald. Her skin looked as if it had been severely sunburned and blistered, and she experienced profound neurological issues, including temporary blindness and memory loss. She spent weeks in and out of hospitals, undergoing countless tests, none of which provided a clear diagnosis or effective treatment. Vickie and Colby also sought medical help, their symptoms mirroring Betty's to a lesser degree. The commonality of their ailments, all appearing simultaneously after their encounter, pointed overwhelmingly to a shared, external cause. The sheer physical suffering they endured was immense, a constant reminder of the horrific night. Convinced that their exposure was a direct result of the mysterious object and the accompanying helicopters, Betty and Vickie believed the military was somehow involved, either through direct interaction with the craft or in some kind of cleanup or observation role. They felt abandoned and ignored by the authorities, left to suffer without explanation or aid. Driven by desperation and the hope for answers and compensation for their debilitating injuries, the two women decided to take legal action. In 1981, they filed a $20 million lawsuit against the United States government, specifically targeting the Air Force, Army, and Navy. They alleged that the military was responsible for their injuries, either by operating the mysterious craft or by failing to warn the public about a dangerous, experimental aircraft. This marked a monumental step, bringing the private horrors of their encounter into the public spotlight. The lawsuit, however, proved to be an uphill battle. The government consistently denied any involvement or knowledge of the incident. Official statements claimed no military aircraft were in the area at the time, and certainly no large diamond-shaped objects. They suggested that the helicopters sighted by the witnesses were not military, or that the entire event was a misidentification of conventional phenomena. The legal proceedings dragged on for years, characterized by a frustrating lack of transparency and a steadfast refusal by the authorities to acknowledge any responsibility. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence the plaintiffs attempted to present was the testimony of a former military air traffic controller who claimed to have seen strange radar blips in the area around the time of the incident. However, this testimony was ultimately deemed insufficient. Efforts to obtain flight records for military helicopters from the numerous bases in the region proved fruitless, with the government maintaining that no relevant flights occurred. Despite the growing body of anecdotal evidence and the clear physical suffering of the victims, the court ultimately sided with the government. In 1986, the lawsuit was dismissed, leaving Betty Cash and Vickie Landrum without financial compensation for their immense medical bills and lost livelihoods, and without the official acknowledgement they so desperately sought. The dismissal was a crushing blow, but it did not diminish their resolve to tell their story. Betty Cash, in particular, became a vocal advocate for their case, appearing on television shows and speaking at UFO conferences. Her physical health, however, continued to decline. She suffered from chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and premature aging, her once vibrant life reduced to a constant struggle against illness. She carried the physical scars of that night: hair loss, skin lesions, severe vision problems, until her death in 191998 at the age of 69, still believing the government was responsible for her suffering. Vickie Landrum, though also affected, lived a longer life, passing away in 2007. She too remained steadfast in her account, as did her grandson Colby, who, as an adult, continued to recount the terrifying events of that night, describing the heat, the brilliant light, and the overwhelming fear he experienced as a child. The Cash-Landrum incident remains one of the most compelling and perplexing UFO cases in history, primarily due to the undeniable physical evidence of the witnesses' injuries and the consistent nature of their testimonies. Unlike many other UFO sightings, this case involved not just visual observation, but direct physical harm. The fact that medical professionals confirmed symptoms consistent with radiation exposure, without any other discernible cause, lends a chilling credibility to their story. The presence of the numerous helicopters also adds a layer of complexity and fuels the conspiracy theories that surround the event. Who were they? Why were they there? Were they part of a military operation involving an experimental craft? Or were they observing an unknown, non-human technology? The lack of official explanation for their presence, coupled with the government's consistent denials, only deepened the mystery and cemented the belief for many that something was being deliberately concealed. The case also highlights the devastating human cost of such unexplained phenomena. The lives of Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and Colby Landrum were irrevocably altered by those terrifying minutes on a lonely Texas road. They faced not only immense physical pain but also emotional distress, financial hardship, and the frustrating struggle to be believed in the face of official silence and skepticism. The scientific community remains divided on the Cash-Landrum incident. While some researchers point to the consistent symptoms of radiation poisoning as undeniable proof of an anomalous event, others argue that without direct, quantifiable evidence from the scene, such as collected radiation samples, a definitive conclusion cannot be reached. The debate continues to this day, with the incident often cited in discussions about the potential dangers of UFO encounters and the nature of government transparency regarding unexplained aerial phenomena. The story of Betty Cash, Vickie Landrum, and Colby Landrum stands as a stark reminder of the vast unknowns that exist just beyond the veil of our everyday lives. It is a tale of courage in the face of the unexplainable, and a poignant testament to the enduring human quest for truth, even when that truth comes at an unbearable personal cost. The silent, wooded roads of Huffman, Texas, continue to hold the echoes of that unearthly light, a chilling legacy of a night when three ordinary people stumbled upon something truly extraordinary and dangerous. Now, as you settle deeper into your resting place, allow your body to become heavy and still. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest with each breath, a calming rhythm that guides you deeper into relaxation. Imagine a warm, soft glow emanating from within you, spreading slowly from your heart, outward to every part of your being. Let this warmth dissolve any lingering tension in your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. Feel your muscles softening, easing, becoming loose and supple. Your eyelids are growing heavy, sealing out the world, inviting you into a deeper quiet. Imagine yourself drifting on a tranquil lake, under a vast, star-studded sky. The water is perfectly still, reflecting the countless distant lights above. There is no sound but the gentle lapping of imaginary waves against your boat, a soft, repetitive whisper. Feel the gentle sway, a comforting motion that lulls you further into serenity. Allow your thoughts to become like clouds, slowly drifting across the horizon of your mind, without judgment, without attachment. Just observing them as they pass, then letting them disappear into the vastness. There is only peace, only quiet, only the sensation of sinking deeper into pure rest. Your breath is soft, your body is light, your mind is clear. You are completely safe, completely secure, held in the gentle embrace of the night. Let yourself surrender to this profound tranquility, drifting effortlessly towards the deepest, most rejuvenating sleep. Each breath guides you further, softer, into the quiet depths of peaceful slumber. You are now entering a state of complete repose.